Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and today I bring you a review of this, the Panzer 3/4 German Tier 5 medium tank. So what do you need to know about this thing? Well, it's a typical medium tank. It's kind of the epitome of what a medium tank is, if I'm honest. So the hit points are about average for a Tier 5 medium. They're slightly on the low side. Generally Tier 5 mediums have 450, the Panzer 3/4 has 440. It has a decent engine, 585 horsepower, and a good speed limit, and so this thing is actually quite a quick machine. The armour is not a strong point on this machine. Having said that, it does have 60mm of armour at the front, sloped, so that's not too bad, and I will take a slightly more in-depth look at the armour scheme later on. The gun, 75mm gun, reasonable rate of fire. The gun isn't really the strong point of this machine either, to be honest. View range is kind of naff. I mean, we have the top turret, but the view range is still pretty rubbish, and signal range is pretty good. So I've found this to be a very fun machine, and I do like it. And in a minute I will compare it with the Panzer 4, because I think that's the comparison a lot of people will be making. So let's just take a quick look at the two guns. So this, the L43 75mm, is the stock gun. This, the L48, is the top gun. There's only two guns in this machine. Well, what's the difference between the two? Well, let's start with the stock gun. You've got a 75mm gun with a reasonable rate of fire, 13.75 rounds a minute. 103 pen, which is okay. It's low for a 75mm gun. It's around kind of the 57mm weapon mark. Average damage of 110, which is alright. It's not very accurate, 0.41 dispersion at 100 meters, and an average aiming time. When you upgrade it to the top gun, what do you get? A slight increase in accuracy, although this gun is still not very accurate, and a slight increase in penetration, although this gun will still bounce an awful lot. It's an incremental upgrade. The gun is really not the strong point of this machine, but it's alright. And one thing I will point out now, the games you're going to see, and you may have noticed this, are without a 100% crew. So you can see my commander here is 93%. The only reason why these guys are displayed as higher than 100% is that they've got the 10% buff from the commander. So what about the grind on this machine? Well, if we have a quick look. Let's go to the German tech tree for starters. And now I'm going to start making the comparison with the Panzer 4. So a lot of people have the question, which Tier 5 medium should I go for? Panzer 4, Panzer 3/4? And the first answer is, well, what do you want to grind out? Which line do you want to grind? So if you take the Panzer 4, and you're going along this line, and you are branching off into the German heavy tanks. And so if you want to play the German heavy tanks, play the Panzer 4. The Panzer 3/4 goes off into the one of the German medium lines. So if you want to play German medium tanks, play the Panzer 3/4. I mean, why might you choose one machine over the other? Because they are very, very similar. Well, there are only really a few differences between them. They're very similar machines. Firstly, the Panzer 4 existed, and this matters for some people. The Panzer 3/4 is just kind of a blueprint at best. I'm not sure any models were actually made of it, but the Panzer 4 was the legendary German medium tank that served with distinction throughout the war, and so that might be a factor for you. And if you want the one that existed, pick the Panzer 4. The Panzer 4 on paper also has thicker armour. It has 80mm rather than 60, however it's worth pointing out that the Panzer 4, that armour is flat. Panzer 3/4, it comes pre-angled, so actually the armour on the two are comparable. I mean, it's not going to stop most of the things that shoot at you, if we're going to be honest. So there are two main gameplay differences between them. If we want to be pedantic, there are three differences really, but the third one, the Panzer 4 has 10 more health. Big woo. The other two, the Panzer 3/4 is faster and more mobile. So if you want a faster tank, go for the Panzer 3/4. Panzer 4 has a howitzer, or can equip a 105mm howitzer. So if you want to use a derp gun at Tier 5, you pick the Panzer 4. If you don't, and you just want to use the 75mm gun on the Panzer 4, I will be honest, I think you're better off with the Panzer 3/4. In my opinion, the 3/4 is a better machine. Well, that's just my opinion. I mean, if you want to run around with the 105mm howitzer, you can use the Panzer 4, but to be honest, you're probably better off in a Sherman. Yeah. So in my opinion, the Panzer 3/4 is better than the Panzer 4, but it really depends what line you want to go down. But anyway, we're talking about the Panzer 3/4, so what's the grind like? Tier 2, you have the Panzer 2, which at Tier 2 is actually a very good machine. For its tier, it's quite heavily armoured, and gets an autocannon. Then you have an option of which way to go. You can either go through the Panzer 2G and then the VK 2001D, or the Panzer 3 and then Panzer 3A and then the Panzer 3. In my opinion, the Panzer 3A, Panzer 3 is the better way to go. The Panzer 2G is quite good fun, but it doesn't play like anything else on this line. I mean, it's really a bridging tank to get down into the German light tanks. And the Panzer 3A is a lot of fun. The Panzer 3 is, in my opinion, just better than the VK. So I would personally go this way. That's just me. The other advantage... Oh no, that's not really relevant. So I would personally go this way. So once you have, and you get to the Panzer 3/4, what sort of grind are you expecting? Well, this is the stock gun. You won't have this gun already unlocked. The turret, well, you won't have the top turret unlocked, obviously. Will you have any of the radios? Yes, you'll have that radio and this radio. Will you have this radio? No. So you'll already have the tier 6 radio unlocked, so you might as well put it on. And Panzer 3, there we go. And tier 5, Panzer... Okay, so you'll already have this radio and this engine unlocked, so you might as well put them on immediately. And I would advise you to concentrate on the suspension and the engine. Because the gun, as I've already mentioned, is not a massive upgrade from the stock gun. The turret gives you a bit more health, which is nice. It doesn't give you any extra view range or anything, and the gun depression is rubbish either way. So I'd save the turret for last. So what I would do is go number 1. Well, I would equip these two because you already have them unlocked if you went through the Panzer 3, which is what I would suggest. I'd equip these two. Then I would unlock the suspension to increase your maximum speed. So the maximum speed listed is for your top suspension. So I would have that. Then I would unlock the engine for some more horsepower. And it is a big increase in horsepower. Then I would unlock the top gun, because although it's only an incremental upgrade, every upgrade is welcome. And then I would unlock the turret. That's me. And then you can unlock the VK, etc. And this grind is actually fairly pleasant. Now, I'm slightly biased. I didn't have to do a lot of it because I already had a number of these modules unlocked from previous machines. But the grind actually doesn't look too bad. And when it's fully upgraded, this tank is actually a lot of fun. So, if you're going to keep it, what would I recommend in terms of equipment and crew skills? So, firstly, go with your standard first aid kit, repair kit and fire extinguisher. If you wanted, I suppose you could swap one of these out for gasoline, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Or chocolate, I suppose, is an option. But I'm a little bit hesitant on doing that because I think the first aid kit and the repair kit are both very valuable on this machine, and it's German, they tend to catch fire. So I actually think these three are your best choice. Ammunition loadout, you can see what sort of loadout I've got. A few APCRs, not a bad idea, but don't feel you have to. You'll mainly be using AP, HE, you can have a couple if you want, but you'll mainly be using the arm piercing, I imagine, on this machine. So what about equipment here? Well, it's not going to be anything particularly surprising. I would say that you want medium caliber tank gun rammer, just to increase the DPM, reload speed, excellent. Now this is tier 5, so it can't fit a vertical stabilizer, which is annoying. So I'll go with the gun rammer. I would go with improved vents. And then it's kind of up to you. You could go with additional grousers for better manoeuvrability on difficult terrain. Coated optics, you could, but frankly 10% of rubbish is still pretty damn bad. So it's not going to make the view range particularly good. Ditto for binocular telescopes, you could do it, but I don't actually think it's a particularly good idea. I would say your third piece of equipment probably wants to be the, where's it gone? Enhanced gun laying drive. Because whilst the 2.3 second aiming time on a gun isn't bad, it's also not particularly good. And you will want to do quite a lot of moving and shooting. Move and then quickly shoot with this tank. So anything that can help that is a good idea. Crew skills, well, you can see I don't actually have a 100% crew, so I don't have any. But what I'm going to suggest is nothing particularly surprising. I would say on your commander, Sixth Sense and then repairs. On your driver, preventative maintenance and then repairs. On your gunner, repairs and then something else. Radio operator, repairs and whatever. Loader, safe storage, repairs. And eventually brothers in arms. But it's very unlikely, unless you really like this tank and you want to keep it, it's very unlikely you'll actually grind it long enough for that to really be an issue. So I've waffled on long enough about that. It's time to flit over to the armour scheme and see if there's anything you want to pay attention to there. So here we are in Tank Inspector looking at the Panzer 3/4. The armour profile of it. Let's bring up the armour zones. So what do you need to know about it? Well, firstly, the armour that it says it actually has, which is kind of unusual. There's 60mm of armour, it's got 60 all over the place. At the front. At the sides, well, the sides are 60, sides of the turret are thinner. And the rear is 40. So, this is not one of those tanks when you see an armour scheme and go, yeah, right, this actually has the armour that it claims to have. With very few weak points. From the front, massive commander's hatch, but this massive commander's hatch is 50mm thick, i.e. the same thickness as the front of the turret. Here is your only real weak spot. It's 40mm thick. It's still not that thin. Down here the lower plate is not particularly weak, and actually if you're shooting at it front on, it's angled such that that's an equivalent of 108mm, so if you're close to this thing, I would not recommend shooting at the lower plate. If you've got a bit more distance, go for it, because there's a good chance you might set the engine on fire or something, but if you're right up close, don't bother shooting for the lower plate. Turret, well, it's 50mm. If you're interested in the gun mantlet, so you come along, the gun mantlet, the turret armour goes down to 45, you have 50mm of gun mantlet over the top, so you get effectively basically 100mm. There's a hole in the armour where the gun sits, obviously. This bit, you're kind of looking at 70 odd mil and down to 50. I'm not going to spend too long on this because the bottom line is that the armour's not great. If you are shooting at front on, 60mm of armour with the sloping becomes 80, the same as the Panzer IV. So basically with this machine you can bounce lower tiers. If you're facing a load of lower tiers, angle your armour, and because your sides are only 10mm thinner than your front, angling something like that is not a terrible idea. And you're showing them effectively 105 odd millimeters of armour, 100 odd millimeters of armour all over the place, and that's difficult for them to penetrate if you're against lower tiers. If you're against equal and higher tiers, they'll probably pen you anyway, unless you get lucky. That's the armour on this thing. It's not great, but it is what it says on the tin, and this is a very mobile machine, so you can still make some use of that. So, with that said, let's play a few games, shall we? So here is replay number 1. You can see that we are in a tier 6 game, and we are on Sand River, I think it is. And we're going to see what we can do. Now normally I show you 2 games, one of which you're top tier, one of which you're bottom tier. I don't actually have a top tier replay to show you. This is a tier 5 machine. I've played like 30-40 games in it, so I haven't had, presumably I haven't had a half decent bottom tier replay to show you. This can do okay when it's bottom tier, because it's mobile. The gun does let it down a bit, but you can still do alright. Just to give you an idea of the gun, The Tiger has 100mm of armour, tier 7, so if you were bottom tier. Tiger has 100mm of armour, which is not great. You have 110 penetration, which would still struggle to get through it, so there we go. So I'm just coming over to this region, and we're trying to take a look over here, because whilst the Panzer has bad view range at 320, not great view range, I've got binos on it, so that adds an extra 64 metres, so we're up to like 380, 390 metres view range with that. We're just seeing what we can see, and it's slightly disconcerting that the entire enemy team, well, apart from myself, the heavy tank, have gone the other way. But I should have mentioned this is an assault game, so this is only going to be 10 minutes long at best, possibly less. And so this is just a case of waiting. I mean, we are on the defensive, so just kind of wait for the enemy team to trundle forwards and get shot. This replay itself is from patch, both of these replays are from patch 8.11, I don't know why I started saying that. There's been some contact up north, and for some reason some of our allies have decided to push right out, and hello, there's a KV-1S, no. I had a shot, but I couldn't really get an effective shot on him. You know, I had a go. There's a KV-1S. Trying to pick out the cupola because that's about the only thing I'm going to penetrate on him. But this gun, 0.39 accuracy, is really not good enough to do that reliably. And the rate of fire is alright, like KV-2. KV-2 is not over endowed with armour, but I don't know why I took that shot. His turret was at an angle, that was a bad shot to take, and there I was just trying to track him. Didn't even manage to do that, and I do not want to get hit by a KV-2 because there's a very good chance, especially if he gets my side armour, that he's just going to kill me. No questions asked. With that terrifying howitzer. So we've lost, each team has lost 2 tanks. The heavy that was on our side has died, but we have still got a tank destroyer over here, and although we are still horribly outnumbered. Hopefully not outfought, but we're definitely outnumbered. That KV-1S is pushing on our TD, pushing on the Panzer IV. So KV-1S down there, still, you know, worrying me, but there are 2 KV-1Ss there and a KV-2. I'm not gonna fight them head on. I'm getting the hell out of there, and I would suggest that the Panzer IV might want to do the same. Although I appreciate he has a KV-1S bearing down on him directly, so it's a bit harder for him to do so. We've just lost an M6 and then a Churchill, and suddenly we're 4-2 down. And we managed to pull it back by killing a T1 heavy. Huzzah! Don't we feel good? And we're just seeing if we can get shots. Ooh, KV-1S does not have the top gun. And there, you see, I take a shot at the side of his turret. I don't know where the shot actually hit. I tried to go through the side of his turret. It seemed to be the best shot available. But, you know, the gun still let me down. Oh, dear, and I'm trying to see if I can do something about this KV-1S. Oh, no, there's another bounce. Sorry, another bounce? Previous shot didn't even hit. There's a bounce. And I take a shot to my face for the trouble. It looks like he's using a 75 or an 85mm gun. I can't remember the different guns available on the KV-1S. I think it's an 85mm gun. Oh, he's probably using the really rubbish 85mm gun that I don't understand why you ever would use it, but never mind. So our Panzer IV is dead. Someone put some damage on this KV-1S, but the scoreline is 5-5. And here's one thing you notice about the Panzer IV: its gun depression is woeful, which can be annoying. But you know, if you're playing German tanks for the gun depression, stop, because it's not great. It's really not great. So far I haven't really made a particularly good showing. I've probably got some assistance damage from the spotting I've been doing, but I haven't actually done any damage physically myself. And the flank I was on has been lost, and I'm just running away. I've even taken a hit for my troubles and lost about a third of my health. So I'm just fleeing like the little coward I am, because I'm in a medium tank and I'm outclassed there, so why hang around? That just seems like a silly idea. Why not instead run away? Which is what I'm doing. So So there's a KV2, which at least is a friendly, and there's also a medium over there, a Chihi, although the Chihi isn't going to be much of a match for those guys, to be honest. Seeing if I can get any shots, and you can see without a 100% crew, although the aim time on this gun isn't technically very bad, it feels so painful. And hello, KV1S. Oh god. KV2 misses as well. There's a Churchill, trying to aim for his turret, because that's the weakest point of the front of a Churchill, or at least it's the weakest reasonably sized bit. It's not too bad to hit. So KV1S, trying to shoot our KV2. I'm trying to hit the commander's hatch. Nope. Oh, lower plate. There we go. Through the lower plate. Kill securing like a boss, but potentially also saving the life, or at least helping our KV2 friend. Well, the KV2 did most of the damage. So we're just seeing if we can at least annoy this KV2. The KV2 does not have great armour, but we don't have a great gun, so there we go. And our KV2, oh, he's getting pummeled. Can't make any of these shots. Can we do something about this Churchill at least? Oh, we bounce on the side of a Churchill. And the KV2 takes him out, doing 7 damage. That's a bit of a waste of his big ass shells, but frankly, well, it's one less gun shooting back at him, I suppose. So I'm trying to pick out the turret ring, but there we go. Okay, I go through the front of the turret. Because the turret on the KV2 is big and flat and not very well armoured. So if you don't hit the gun mantlet and you hit a flat part, you have a reasonable chance of doing some damage. And I have another shot just for the sheer ever-loving hell of it. So, we're actually 9-8 up at the moment, which is nice, but this flank is still looking a little bit dubious. However, this is an assault game and we're defending. All we have to do is hold out for another 2 minutes 40 seconds. 2 minutes 30 now. And then we win, regardless. But that would mean kind of naff XP for me, so I'm trying to get shots on this KV2 as he moves through, but without a 100% crew. The reload on this gun is actually kind of irritating. It's not terrible, but considering the damage output, it's really not very good. But as I say, bear in mind, this is not a 100% crew. This is probably a 70 or 80% crew or something. VK3601H, I do not want to be fighting him from the front. So, I duck into the town because A, it gives me cover from the VK, and B, it allows me to help out this Chihi by putting shots into the rear of the KV2. This is what the Panzer is good at. Panzer 3-4. Manoeuvring around people's flanks and rear, and just putting shots into them. And now we're winning 11-8, and so there's this VK left over here, and I'm just kind of going down into the river to try and avoid him because, yeah, VK would have me for breakfast. Certainly from the front, anyway. And we're just trying to see what we can do. Trying to see if I can get eyes again on that VK, and if me and this Chihi can kind of tag team him maybe. It's perhaps a slightly tall order. He's a tier 6 heavy tank, the Chihi's tier 4 medium, and not a very mobile one at that. I'm a tier 5 medium, much more mobile than the Chihi, but even so. But there's only 50 odd seconds of the game left. So I'm just going to come up here and, ooh, look, it's an ARL. And the side armour of an ARL 44 for pretty much any gun in the game is made of experience. Although that shot, of course, whiffs because, hey-ho, why wouldn't it? 112. And someone else gets the kill. Boo. 25 seconds of the game left. Can we rack up any more XP? Come on, so there's just a VK and this M3 Lee left. And if I want to rack up some XP, oh, someone else takes out the VK anyway. I am going to try and do some nasty things to this M3 Lee. There's one shot in. I should probably have just stopped to name these, because that one just tracked him. There's a ram, and there's the kill. And because this machine's quite fast, and it's a German medium, so it's not light, it's actually not bad at ramming things. But you don't have great armour, so you do take some damage in the process. So, that was a tier 6 game on Sand River. We ended up getting about 1,000 damage done, and we actually came top on our team. Which might surprise you to learn, but we did. The wonders of shooting higher tier opponents. So that was game number 1. On to the second game. So here's a game on Lakeville now. We are top tier, this is a tier 5 game, and I should really put this game into context. This game came out, I played not that long after patch 8.11 came out, and it had come at the end of a horrific, frustrating, annoying, losing streak that made me just want to go and throttle something. And so I really wanted a good game. I'd been playing the Purging a lot, I'd been losing a lot, I'd been getting appalling teams, I hadn't been playing particularly well myself, and I really just wanted to unleash some frustration. And we're top tier, which is a good start. There's only one heavy tank per side, and for them it's a B1, and we've got a KV1. Now I don't run XVM, so I don't know if there are good players here or what, but to me this looks like an opportunity. This looks like an opportunity to bully the living bejesus out of people, I'm not gonna lie. And so I come into the town, because apart from the KV1, I am the most heavily armoured machine. Oh no, Matilda. Apart from the KV1 and the Matilda, I am the most heavily armoured machine. Possibly the AMX4. Alright, fine. I have decent armour in this matchmaking. And what do we see? Oh, a bunch of friends. And so I decided to play this quite aggressively. But you're about to see the AFA. And so we take a shot there, into the cruiser, and we do some damage. But you can see someone gets a shot into us, we finish off the cruiser. And takes off about a third of our health. No idea who that was, but there we go. And oh, hello. Oh, a pair of tier 3 light tanks. Oh, and a Panzer IV. We get a shot into the Panzer IV. He takes out our M7 friend. And so we start bullying some tier 3 Japanese light tanks. Panzer IV is using the howitzer, and I track him. And I don't care about those tier 3 light tanks. I'm just going to sit here and perma-track him. I keep putting shots into his hull and into this axle to keep him trapped, and there we go, he's dead. Kill number 2. Some irritating Japanese tier 3 light tanks. Let's just go over and kill them. I play it a bit more cautiously first, apparently. And then I just get fed up. There's a Chinu here as well. Chinu's saying, help! Alright, fine. We're winning 5-2, which is nice. 6-2, which is nice. And boom, kill 3. Oh, that shot bounces. You can see this gun is not very good. And my second shot kills him. Kill number 4. And so we just plough on through the town toward what's left of the enemy team. And so this was a good game to have after the frustrating games I've been having previously that evening. This was just a wonderful release. Just beating the tar out of people. And not really putting any thought into it. This was not an elegant game. It was an aggressive, in-your-face, going to shoot the hell out of you. And I hadn't looked at the minimap. He's in the valley. He's not in the centre part. You can't take a shot at him. Chinu, go Lord. Okay, fine, cool, will do. Frag noob. Oh. What? I don't know. So I go, huh? Take a shot on the move, take a bunch of damage, which is irritating. But I don't want to die. Oh, dodge that shot, jolly good. I'm lighting these guys up. We're 10-2 up, I mean this is basically a win. So I'm just going to see if I can rack up some extra damage. In the meantime, hello Mr. Stug, side armour, yes please. Put one shot into him. Second shot, and burn him to death. And that's the game over. Now I think the Chinu thought I was stealing his kills, but if you look at the results afterwards, firstly I get a long list of medals, which is quite nice. If you look at the awards at team list afterwards, I get the most kills on our team, it's a third of the enemy team, and I also do the most damage. I mean, I get a high caliber award, for goodness sake, so I don't know what he's whinging about. Anyway, that was a great release, and it's just an example of what you can do when this tank's top tier. Is the armour great? No. Can the armour be penetrated by a lot of things? Yes. Can you still use it to bully tier 3s? Oh, hell yeah. I feel a bit dirty doing it, but it's just funny. Anyway, that was game number 2. So in conclusion, in summary, do I like this machine? Yes, I do. I think it's a lot of fun, and whether you want to keep it and you want to play it a lot, or you're just grinding through it, it's not going to be a painful experience, I don't think, and I think you'll enjoy yourself, or at least you will if you like medium tanks. And if you don't like medium tanks, sorry, you're grinding down the wrong line. Go down the heavy line or something. So that's my opinion. I hope you guys found it helpful and vaguely informative, and I wish you happy hunting on the battlefield. Ciao ciao.